talk about one of my latest reads, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson, a former New York Times correspondent. So what this book is 400 pages of great writing about really terrible things. What Wilkerson argues is that we have conversations about race in America. We talk about race, but that is not adequate enough. She says we need to be talking about caste, or a caste system, which means a hierarchy that we've set up, or society has set up, that defines who or what is beautiful, that defines who gets access to resources, that defines who is respected. I do want to tell you 5 things I got out of this book that I think will either intrigue you to read it or at least Google the concept and learn a little bit more about it. The Nazis studied and admired America for the mistreatment of Black people. They actually looked at how Jim Crow era laws were put into place, how Black people were segregated against, to study how they would discriminate against the Jews. And I'll paraphrase this part of the book. Some of the people who saluted Hitler and laughed at humans being tortured in the Jim Crow South are still alive, cradling grandchildren to their bosom. Number 3. So the book, not only does Wilkerson argue that there's a caste system in America, but she studies the caste systems in India and of Nazi Germany. One thing that stands out about the Indian caste system is that the lowest members of their caste don't really fight their place in society because they believe in reincarnation, so they believe in karma and believe that they are deserving of their treatment in the lowest caste. She also explores how caste impacts our beauty standards, which stood out for me because I'm on the natural hair train, A, because I like to wear my hair like this, but B, because I also want to make a point that I can be beautiful and professional with my own natural hair. So this sentence really stood out to me. Among marginalized Americans, the closer they have been to the dominant caste in skin color and in hair and facial features, the higher on the scale they have generally ranked. The women in particular, and the more value attached to them, even by those whose appearance is further from the caste-driven ideal. The last topic that this book touched on that I really want y'all to read the book for, but another topic that you could just Google, is this phenomenon called weathering. I first came across this phenomenon when I was doing a series on maternal mortality. There was big news that Black women were 3 to 4 times more likely to die than white women in pregnancy. And what was most fascinating about the research was that the more education and the higher income a Black woman had, the more at risk she was during pregnancy. So this book touches on this phenomenon called weathering. Weathering is this phenomenon that says that the stigmas and the stereotypes assigned to Black people that they have to fight against every day, especially if you're in a higher income or you're working your way up in society, it actually has a negative health effect on your body. Here's 2 parts of the book that address that. One says middle-class African-American men and women are more likely to suffer from hypertension and stress than those with lower income. And this sentence kind of explains why. People of color with the most education, who compete in fields where they are not expected to be, continually press against the boundaries of caste and experience a lower life expectancy as a result. The more ambitious the marginalized person, the greater the risk of what evolutionary biologist Joseph L. Graves calls the out-of-place principle of social dominance. Now, I will say, I have to take a break sometimes when I read books like this because it pisses me off. You learn all this stuff and the effects that it has, and some of it you've experienced and you see, but to see someone lay it out with research and evidence to back it up, woo, I be hot when I'm done with these books. So this idea that weathering, that the harder you try to be successful, the more pushback you'll get, the more you'll face stereotypes because you're not supposed to be in these spaces, literally causes physical impacts to our body in the form of health detriments. I mean, that doesn't get any more sad or depressing. Hope you guys will read this book. But if you don't, I hope you'll at least Google some of the concepts that I brought up because it's crazy, right?